Well, welcome to the latest video, folks, where we are going to reassemble this Makita saw. It needs a couple of new bearings putting on it to get it to work properly, and so we're going to do that and go through the reassembly. This is the rotor. So these are the only ones that I can find which are actually thin enough to go in there. So I still don't know if these are going to work, but if you want to know, they're actually windscreen wiper pullers. So essentially what you do is you wind this piece to push the jaws inwards, and then this piece here you wind to extract the, in this case, a bearing. So I have put a ball bearing there because it's wandering around. Oh, it is working. It's fantastic. I had a feeling we'd have trouble with this, but obviously not. So that is a bit rough. It feels smooth when you run it, but there's a lot of play in it, and there's even more play in the one on the other end. But also, look at that. Look at all the grunge it's got on that. Now there's the replacement. So the new bearing will sit on the shoulder there. So the replacement came from Henderson Bearings in Hampshire, and it was very, very quick. Well, so these arrived in the post. Quite a nice little Dunlop box they came in, so it should be quite a good quality bearing. Feels nice and silky, which is good. So that's got to go on there. So this device, actually this is another windscreen wiper puller. This has got the ball bearing already on it, on the end there. So I don't know if this is going to work or not. Oh yeah, perfect. It is turning a little bit, so I need to stop that. Right, I'll put a clamp over it. Well, I did not expect that to work. I really did not. That's quite astonishing. 2 successes in one day. Yeah, that's the underside of it, look. Covered in filth. There's probably some of that inside the bearing. This device is a windscreen wiper puller. Like the other one, you can buy these on eBay for about £15. Probably AliExpress, they're even cheaper, I would imagine. Nice that they've got quite a thin pulling band though, that's quite good. So again, this new bearing is going to sit on this little shoulder here, so we need to be able to tap that on. Well, that does seem to be going on by hand, okay, so. There you go, that's fully home. Okay, so the end one took a slightly bigger hammer to get it on, but it is on. It's pretty nice. Okay, so the stator doesn't really have any problems, so I didn't actually take it out. Whenever you're reassembling these plastic cases, you just generally go back until it clicks and then go forwards, and then that avoids you stripping out the threads. Or it's like a self-tapping thread slot, but you want to try and pick up the old thread that Makita put there when they tapped it down. So I was just looking in the parts to see if there was a cap for this, but I think the cap is actually just the end of the case there. Well, you can just see at the base there, you see that circle where the bearing goes? That is a tight fit, so you need to blow that out with an airline, or use a bit of Rodico or something like that, and just get it completely clean, because there's any tiny little bits of stuff in there, it's going to end up too tight and you find it hard to get it in. So this piece here, this is the dust guard for the motor. It goes over before you put this in. And then you move it along, that's it. And the whole assembly comes out, and you need to make sure you push it right home so that it's sitting right back. So this is what your commutator should look like when it's properly home and lined up. And if you took the brush holders out, they do just slide out, by the way, and then they just slide back in again like that. You need to pull these wires through, because you don't want all this slack sitting on the back of the motor there. So the wires have a little detent they just sit in. So there's one there and one there. Now this piece, you can see the little piece there that goes into the top part of the spring there. So if you look just here, there's a black oil seal ring, so you need to push it so that it goes past the oil seal ring and seals down, and you'll feel it catch when it goes, you just like so. Rotate it a little bit till it clicks, then go back and then go forwards. On these kind of soft metal casings, you will strip it if you don't pick up the old thread. So you go back till it clicks and then forwards. A stripped case is just a wasted part. There's really a bad thing to do, you know. perfectly good part, but you can't use it. Sometimes you can tap them out, but they don't leave you a lot of metal to drill out. That's the only thing with that. I suppose if you were really determined you could put an insert in there, but best of luck with that. Okay, so you now got this on. I would hope that you're not going to have to take this off again, so you can now put the brushes in. Brushes on this are usually okay. There's a little sloping part just there, and usually if it's not past that, they're pretty good. If it goes past that, then you got quite a bit of wear. Not necessarily you're replacing it at that point, but a fair bit of wear, I would say. So I haven't tested this electrically because this was actually working, so I don't have a particular problem with that. The main reason why I am rebuilding this is because it had two very loose bearings which were just causing a problem. So give it a quick turn, make sure it's turning. Almost all Makita machines have a predefined wire run, and you can usually spot where it is. And if you use that, it prevents the wires getting trapped in the case. Right, at the moment, I think that's everything, but if I've forgotten something, I'll have to come back. So I'm going to put maybe 2 screws in at a strategic point, and then that should be it. Okay, so I may have discovered a fault here actually. See that? Don't think that's supposed to move. These are tight, so I'm going to have to fix that. So yeah, I'm not supposed to do that. That is a little bit better. Right. So at this stage, just before I go any further, I'll just see if I can get it to run. That's much better. Had a real problem before. So I've got this bit here that comes in and out. I have tightened that up a bit, but I think it's actually supposed to be like that because it's got to rotate like this. So it's got to have some like hinging action. So that goes through there, and then I come to the other side. You can just see there. So there's a little detent on the top of the screw which goes to the top because it holds a circlip, and obviously when you tighten it you're going to go that way, so yeah, the little handle goes over there. And then there's a circlip that goes on top, like so. And then that would tighten up your system. So let's just get that on. Right, so that's on. So now you've got that on, you can then put the guard on. Okay, to put the guard on, yes, that's right. But there's a slot just here, and this little, I'm not sure what this is for. Is it like a knife or something? Knife-shaped thing, sword-shaped thing, scimitar-shaped thing goes into the groove there. Otherwise, you might struggle to get it on. So on top of there's a circlip. So I got some circuit pliers on the old car booty the other day, and they had like several different heads with them, which is cool. I've never had any before, must admit. I've always just used like a pair of pliers with the ends filed off. There you go. So just here, right there, there's a black grommet and a screw. I can't seem to get the staining off it. I don't quite know why, but it's one of the things that fixes this to the actual body of the motor. Right, so once you've got the guard in place, this is the thing that springs back up there. You've got like a spring that has to go on it, and it attaches in two places. So one of the places is, you should see, just under there. I don't know why that's beeping. And just there, like that. So that's your guard in place. So the last thing is just to put this is the front guard. And it's interesting, Makita have put a couple of, I don't know what you call them really, false screws, which look as if they hold this plate on, but it's all a single casting. And if you look at the back, there's actually nothing there. So I guess these are also spare screws you can use to put this on with, but because I guess Makita must imagine people will take this on and off, and it might get jammed, they might lose the screws, so I've got a couple of spare ones. So that goes through your two forky bits there, and then it just sits on top. And if you look amongst your screws that you got for the machine, you'll see that some of them are proper set screws. They're not self-tappers, and there should be 3. Those are the ones that go in there. They do not need to be mega tight. You just need to nip them up a little. If you overdo it, you'll end up stretching the threads, and it'll end up stripping next time you use it, and you don't want any of that. Right, so now we've electrically tested this. Let's give it another quick blast, because we've just attached a lot of stuff to it. Right. We're in a position now where we can put in the rest of the screws. So if you remember, we put in 2 screws just to secure the thing, and that means there's some still left. Luckily I've got the right number. That doesn't always happen, I can tell you. What I've got left in my tray now are these little caps which go onto here. And there's another one on the other side. Okay, so when you put this back on, and put it back on with a little bit of finger room so you can get your finger behind it. So I thought I'd do this video because some of the bits on this are a little tricky. The dust guard on the motor, for example, sometimes is a bit weird, and this is quite a tricky part. Although it might help a few people. Yeah, so that's anti-clockwise. So it's cutting upwards. So this basically goes over the square flats, and there's a little inset there that the blade sits onto. So if anyone knows what this little blade's for, let me know, because I'm not really sure. Oh, I know what it is. It's a guide, isn't it? Yeah, that's what it is. It sits in the groove the saw makes and guides the saw in a straight line. I guess if you take that out, you can. Well, you probably can take that out actually. It probably wouldn't hurt that much. So I need to do this up tight, which I'll do in a second. And that, I think, is everything back on. So I guess if you've never used one of these before, then there's a little black lever which we put on earlier after we inserted the motor, just before we put the motor onto the silver frame. There's that little black lever which you can just see there. That should be a jam. It should jam it. Okay, so I haven't really set that up, but it seems to be cutting just fine. This particular saw is in fact a NiCad. So what you should understand is that you can, if you go to AliExpress or onto eBay, for around about £7 to £10, you can actually buy an adapter which you can put onto this and then use your modern Makita Lion batteries. So it's a good quality saw, this, and it seems a shame that it would just become derelict because it has pretty well obsolete batteries on it, although they do work just fine at the moment. But you can use modern Lion batteries on it, you just need to buy an adapter. Well, that brings us to the end of this little video, folks. This is not designed as a chop saw, which is what I just used it for, but it is designed as a saw for sawing sheet timber, and I don't generally use that kind of saw, so this is coming up for sale shortly, probably on eBay. And well, I hope you enjoyed the video when we put the saw together and got it working. Thanks very much for watching, folks. Bye.